Okay, guys, we'll finish up here with a look at the S&P. I looked at both the, well, you guys were asking for the S&P 500 or the NASDAQ 100. They're essentially identically problematic. How about we say it that way? So this is just the kind of circumstance where, Elliotticians are going to struggle here to come up with a count. I mean, the last things that we can see with any sense of at least clarity in terms of their swing relationships is from our pivot here. The ABC, that's pretty solid. The impulse here, the ABC that follows it, all, okay, with your Elliott hat on, I can make sense of this. Obviously, this is very shallow. And then here, I'm just wicking off some of the key pivots. So this had been the resistance for so long. We struggled with it once we got up to it, and then it was tested from above. That seemed to be, you're getting wicking action through it. And then the other thing that's making this very difficult is none of these pivots are technical, right? So we're coming to the 38 here. Now, interestingly, we're just coming up to that algo target. So you got to kind of look and go, are they using a high to high? Now we're to and through. There's nothing that really screams at you here. Even if we're here pulling from the secondary pivot, it's not ideal. There's no, so this 5 here it's hard to dispute this, partly because getting in, even the subdivision into 3 is a challenge. It's tricky Elliott trading. Now you might rationalize in your mind, thinking, oh well, all right, we've got, this is, of course we all know this is central bank driven. So is that distorting the technicals? Well, probably not. Right? So something else is happening here. We've had some technical trading, but the retracements have not been technical. It's part of what's making this difficult. So now, gun to my head, if I had to put a count on this, I'm inclined to think that we've gone 1, shallow 2, and now we've gone into this very unusual pattern here where we'd have an A followed by this B followed by a shallow C. So I suppose you'd have to call this a running flat. So we'd be looking for now the 3, 4, and 5. Excuse me, guys. So sorry. Up here to finish it up like that. But all right. So if we're coming through here, so we break here, so we get through the 786. So wouldn't invalidate it as an AB. Now that get the 2 here, Vegas Wave between the 50 and the 618. I mean, the lesser of all the evils here, right? So that you certainly wouldn't script that for your ideal setup. Yet there it is. Now, and note here that we got our 80% from our corner pocket. We get median line to the tick and bounce out. Now, the 150 does seem to hold it here, and then we come back, and the 233, again, Vegas Wave seems to hold here. We get into this zone where we're, right where you're looking for it, but that's an unusual, God damn it. Sometimes trading view is really annoying. Okay, so this is hard to argue with the ABC here. Hard to get around that. Certainly not an impulse. All right, so what else are you going to do with it? Pulling 5 out of that, you're going to have to go down to a mighty small time frame to get that to play. So you certainly be, I think you'd be very aggressive to be fighting this trend, right? So that we're, again, we got a lot of vested interest in seeing this continue. How about I say it that way? So if this is 1-2 here via this unusual, so if we're ending up with it this way, if this is 1 into the AB and then we're down to the 2 here to get this way, well, just kind of back of the napkin projection here, where this would be an approximation for a 1618 if it's 1-2 and we're going up here. Well, so how much weight do I put into this algo target? Not much, because the only way you can justify this, here, let me zoom in a little bit. I know this gets hard to see with all these lines here. Let's take let me take this off. Okay, so I've shown this to you guys before, where if you get something like this, where you have So this is the 38. So you're looking for the golden zone to hold here. We break and we break the 786. So we end up with a double top here. But this is a pattern we know algos are responsive to. Is if we get this A, B, C, for lack of a better way to describe it, we end up with a double top. It's the next retrace. Since this one breaks, we'd want to look for something technical on this one here. So since we come down here, we get in between. Now we get the reaction, so there you can justify that. You can understand, okay, is this just an alternating pivots? The algos are buying it here in the hot box. God, this new thing they've done to TradingView, I can't say that I love. That's a little update they did. Okay, so we get into the hot box. Now here we're going to algo target. Is that our top? Well, you can make a pretty strong case here that when we get up here, RSI gets up to this beyond 70 here, we haven't been able to sustain. So look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. Market can't sustain it. So wouldn't surprise me at all that we'd have some sort of a retracement here. Now I think the market's a little disappointed. I was definitely expecting the market to react more aggressively here, given Trump had a chance to take the mic today and get national attention. If he had anything to pump us with, he would have done it. Interesting, right? So impeachment hearings start tomorrow. He's got an open mic. We're talking about the markets. He wants to blow his horn as hard as he can about how great the stock market is. Very surprised that he didn't pump it via something, China deals. They milked that to death. Maybe there's nothing left to milk there, or he doesn't have the goods, right? So, not that he ever cared about that before. Well, sorry, getting political. Okay, so here we go into this golden zone here. I'd watch for this reaction here. How do you trade that, right? You can't, you're going to buy right into an algo target at an all-time high. I wouldn't. Now, if we stall here, I think you can still look for something. Now, one thing that might be a tell here is do we get 100%, right? So here we're just coming up to it, right? It's often if we don't make the 100%, although that is really close, right? If we don't make the 100%, sign of a weakness, algos will use this ABC to the 100, right? So if it's not 100, next up would be the 127,138. So if they can push through this, right? So we're stalling here. What time is it? Yeah, there's time left. So any sort of a retrace here I think would be worth watching for. Right? More of a swing trade. So if you get something down here, we get into the hot spot. Now we've got structure here that we could take advantage of. So if we come back down, note here. So the structure is there right in our hot box. Well, you got a little bit from the 1 as well, right? So this will be a factor. I know it gets really crowded in there. Hard to see. I get you. All right, so that we know we're just tagging an algo target here. The geometry is, I would leave this on, right? So if it's going to keep going, let's just get rid of that. If we're going to keep going, right, that would be your 3. If this is what we're going to have to live with, this, I guess we'll have to call it a running flat, right? So 1, A, B, C into the 2. If this is going to keep going, 3, 4, 5, all of it suggesting higher prices, but I would wait, right? For me, I simply can't buy an all-time high. I just can't do it, right? So it's against my nature. So, but something like this down here, get a little retrace, and I don't know. I have no idea whether or not we've got a pivot high in here. It would be, we're tagging the algo target, and you're just shy of the 100, so you could make sense of it. But now, if we come down here, and you got a nice little 3. I think you could buy that. 1, 2. Maybe that's the 1, the 2. You'd have to redraw it again, right? So if that's going to play as the 1 and the 2 of the, well, that's interesting. So we'd have some overlap here for our target here. If this is going to go 1, 2, if that's going to hold as a 2 of a running flat, and we're in the 1. So note what we'd be doing on the highest time frame, on a higher time frame. This would be 1, 2. You got to put these somewhere. So let's go here, and we'll go to, we can go to minuet. Okay, so let's change that color. We'll go green. Okay, so if that's 1, 2, then we've gone 1, 2, and we'd be looking again 1, 2. right? Very bullish. Who wants to fight the Fed? Who wants to fight the trend? Right? I mean, you got a lot of the powers that be here with a vested interest in seeing the market continue to go. It's hard. I know. It's the Elliott count is suspect, right? It's very tricky. It's not been terribly technical. Some of the geometry, okay, but the fib relationships have been a little iffy. Atypical here that we'd have a 2 that was this shallow. Again, they happen, right? That's a 38. 12% of 2s only make a 38, so it's not like it doesn't happen. But then each of these have been challenging, right? So they've been very deep, right? Breaking the golden zone on both sides. So you've got uncertainty up here. Even algos are struggling as well. So, but if we pull back down here, I think that's you got to buy it. Right. If not in futures, use a CFD or do it with options, right? Why, right? So you're trying to pick the top up here? That's going to be our top? I mean, shit, anything's possible, but for me, I'd need to see something really substantial and then a big, before we start calling a top, you'd need to see something dramatic change. So there you go, guys. I know this is the day trading solid, but the swing trading out here, challenging. All right, so I'd be careful out here. Okay, guys, talk to you later.